Hello, I'm Gamer Vince, and this is my tutorial for Dungeon of the Endless. There's a lot of games I sort of tutorialize that I feel like the in-game tutorial doesn't go far enough, or maybe there's a lot of tips and tricks that it skips. Dungeon of the Endless doesn't really have much in the way of the tutorial at all. It covers sort of the bare bones basics and then just throws you in the deep end. Which there's something to be said about a game that does that. It's not bad, but if you're struggling a little bit, I know I went and looked up a couple of resources. I feel like the tutorial didn't tell you much of anything, so maybe that's where you're finding this video. In any case, I'm going to go over, I'll start with the basics, but then also go a lot further than the tutorial. Alright, so to start with here, there's, you've got a lot of options here, but, new game, single player is what I'm going to be going over. There's a couple of things you can unlock in the albums and journals, sort of just, a little bit of lore about the planet and the people, the prisoners and the crew and all that you can discover here. So that's what all this stuff is about. Alright, so when you click a new game, you're going to get some kind of spaceship. Get a little intro cinematic here. We're just going to skip that. You get to pick a ship. I think the escape pod here is the first one. It's sort of the basic one, as it says, no particular gameplay bonuses or penalties, so nothing special about this one. It's just sort of the base game, starting with 2 heroes. Over the course of the game, you'll unlock some of the other ships that have a bunch of, other little things to them. But I'm just going to go over the basic escape pod. You might notice that the difficulties are either too easy or easy. What I took this to mean is that you first have to beat it on easy mode before you can unlock like normal mode or hard mode or something like that. No, that's not it at all. Too easy mode is normal mode and easy mode is hard mode. Trust me on this one. You probably want to play on too easy mode the majority of the time. I find it pretty funny that the game calls it too easy mode, because it's really not too easy. It can get too easy. I'm not going to lie. There are sometimes you'll just stockpile a huge amount of resources and then just kind of fly through to the end, or you'll find like a really powerful combo. So it can be too easy, but I feel like for your first couple of games, just do yourself a favor and pick too easy mode. It's not too easy. So to start with, the heroes you'll have available if this is your first time playing. Notice that I've unlocked a decent number of heroes. A couple I still haven't unlocked. By the way you unlock characters is if you meet them in the game, like you can recruit them during the game, and if they survive 3 floors, you'll unlock them. So I'll just say this as a heads up. Two characters that I find amazingly useful are Elise here. I find her really, really good, and Chef Nanor. These two right here, if you encounter them in the dungeon, I highly recommend recruiting them because I feel like they're just really good. Both of them because of one of their active abilities. Cooking with gas for Chef Nanor, and Shrapnel Eyes for Elise. I feel like those two abilities are so good that if I see them in the dungeon, I will always recruit them. If I don't even, just straight up start with them. They will not be an option to start for you if this is your first game. You will be able to choose between these 4 characters here. And I'm not sure what the requirements are, but I think that almost everybody, if you have it on Steam, certainly, you can get the Team Fortress 2 characters down here, these 4 right here. For your first game, I feel like there aren't a whole lot of bad options. I usually like to go with polar opposites. Sarah Numas, she's a scout, very quick, and then Gork, he's just thick-skulled heavy, can take a lot of damage, can dish out a lot of damage. So that's what we're going to go with. There aren't any really wrong options here. It sort of depends on your play style, but you'll be able to make do with no matter who you get. And it also depends really on who you find in the dungeon. So when you can't really prepare for that, it's going to be random. So this is what we're going to pick, just to get started with. It'll give you this little cutscene here of crash landing on the planet. Boom. Yeah, lore-wise, this game actually has a bit of story, and it's kind of interesting. The game is also very funny, by the way. Like, there's a lot of humor in this game that's easy to miss. Like, if you read the biographies of people, or if you read some of the stuff in the albums and so on and so forth, there's a lot of humor in there. And the characters will have funny exchanges in the elevator. Okay, so let's talk basics here. In the first level, you will only have one way to go from the start point. This is where you can see that your ship is crash landed here. Here's what you're trying to protect, the crystal. If that gets destroyed, you lose. And what you're trying to do is go through the dungeon and find the elevator. And then once you've found the elevator, carry your power crystal to the elevator and go to the next floor. And you keep doing that until you're out of the dungeon. Simple, right? So first of all, you select your characters. You can select your characters up here, or you can click on them in the dungeon. I like to usually select them up here because sometimes I click near them, but maybe not quite on them. So up here is pretty consistent. If you hit shift click, you can select multiple characters. That's really useful, so that you can tell them both to sort of go forward. I think that tutorial covers the basics of sort of, powering up rooms, but it's kind of weird. You click the middle mouse button to power up a room. You notice up here, this is how many rooms I can power. So you see the dimmed out here ones, I can power 2 rooms, and when I power this one, one of the rooms is now powered, so it's lit up. First things first, strategy-wise, usually the first room you encounter is a good one to build one of the major modules. It's something that gives you a resource. You've got 3 resources here: industry, science, and food. Food is used to level up characters and to heal them, both of which is very important. Science is used for researching new modules when you find artifacts. Artifacts are these blue crystals that let you research new and interesting things to build in your dungeon. But one thing that it can also be used for is restoring skills. This becomes pretty important, can be very useful later on. It's not something you have to do by any means, but it's something you can do. Where basically, if one of your guys has a really good ability and it's currently on cooldown, the vast majority of skills have either a 2 or 3 door cooldown. You can restore those cooldowns with science. You can use science to do that. And then industry is used to build the various modules that you'll need to survive, and also, build further resources. Down here is obviously the panel to build modules. This one up here, this little diamond shape here, is the major modules, and then you've got 3 types of minor modules. They're sort of, support, offense, and defense. Yeah, that makes sense. So support tends to be stuff like healing, hence the heart. Offensive, just usually pure damage. These hindering modules aren't, they can be, just purely defensive, but they can do a lot of things. So, to be perfectly honest, this is just how they break it up. It doesn't really matter. You can also destroy modules if you want to make room for something else. Now, the first thing you probably want to focus on is food, because you're going to be relying on your heroes more than anything else at the beginning for the first, 2 or 3 floors. So I usually like to build a food replicator first. So we're going to build a food replicator. Different players are going to you know, build different things. Like, I feel like building an industry generator on your first floor is not a bad idea either, so that you can build more later on. But I feel like you start off with actually a decent amount of industry generation. You start with 8. Science is really lackluster with only +3. So, we're going to select both our heroes again. Well, let's unselect that. So we select both our heroes again. We're going to just go into the next room. Powered rooms don't spawn monsters, so you don't need to worry about that. So essentially what I do first of all is I take all my heroes, go into the first room. You'll have at least one power, so power that room and then take them both and go into the next room. Simple. This room, oh, by the way, if you scroll out, mouse scroll, then you can zoom out like this and get this kind of view, which gives you an overview of the dungeon where your heroes are. You can still give them commands, they can still move around and all kinds of stuff. This room right here is powered by Mysterious Force. That means it's just going to be powered, no matter what. Normally there needs to be like for instance, if you'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment, but essentially, normally in order to power a room, all rooms before it need to be powered leading up to your crystal. Rooms powered like this don't, so they'll just be powered all the time. Alright, we can't build another major module right now because we just don't have enough industry, so we're going to open up another door. Ah, and this is the blue crystal I was talking about that lets you do research. So we're going to click on that, and here's a couple of things you can research. Pepper spray. I really like this one. Pepper spray is one that makes monsters attack each other for a little bit, or makes one monster turn on its friends, rather. So pepper spray I find really useful. Most of these other ones are sort of okay. In general, what you want to go for here are modules that help your play style. I'm heavily focused on heroes. I usually don't let I usually go for things that help support my heroes, delay monsters, that kind of thing, as opposed to modules that straight up damage them. Like the Prisoner Prod, I almost never upgrade. That might be a bad idea, but that's just how I play. Oh, in any case, we've got enough industry to build another module, and I'm actually going to build a science module. Because I really want that pepper spray. Now, you don't want to go crazy on building these modules, especially on the first couple of floors, because there just aren't that many rooms. In case you hadn't noticed, is in between opening doors, you can do whatever you want. There's no time limit or anything like that, but you're not advancing in resources. Resources, the +9, +6, +8 only ticks up when you open a door. So when we open this door, it'll tick up. So we're going to open that door, and you notice that all of these sort of update. And here we have our first couple of monsters, but that's no problem because we've got both our heroes here. Power this room. Oh, and like I said, this room is going to power itself no matter what, but notice when we unpower this, these rooms unpowered as well, because they no longer have a line to the crystal. By the way, if we power this room, if we tell this room to be powered, it'll power all the rooms necessary for it to be powered. Alright, so now we're actually going to have to start, or we might start having to make some decisions here as to what we're going to defend and how we're going to defend it. Like I said, monsters only spawn in darkened rooms. And now we have a room that will remain dark. One thing the game doesn't tell you, which I think is amazing, this is something I didn't discover for a long, long time, but monsters don't spawn in rooms with heroes, with your heroes. It's not with NPCs. Let me make this clear. If you find a character in the dungeon, that character is called an NPC until you hire them. If you have no direct control over them, like you can't tell them where to go and they're just standing there waiting to be recruited, they're an NPC. Monsters only do not spawn in rooms with heroes in them. They will spawn in rooms with NPCs. The NPCs do not prevent spawning. But what we're going to do here is we're going to just have Gork here explore the next room, because no monsters can spawn in this room. He's a better fighter than she is. And to be perfectly honest, if he ran into any kind of trouble, I'd just have him retreat anyway. Okay, so that went just fine. Notice that no monsters are going to spawn in here as long as she's in here. Alright, now we've got a quite a bit of food here, so we're actually going to upgrade one of the heroes. By the way, in order to get to the character panels, you can left click on them to just select them, or right click on them to open up this panel. By the way, even though there's a heal option here, you don't need to open up the panel like that to heal them. The cross will become available as they take damage. So I think I'm gonna level up probably both of my heroes. Yeah, you're gonna need a level, and yeah, we're gonna take a level. Pro tip here: don't spend all your food leveling up right before you open the door. You always want a little bit of a buffer with food, to make sure you can heal your heroes if need be, because having heroes dies is always kind of crappy. Alright, now we're going to switch things up a little bit. He's the better fighter, but I'm going to put him in here because essentially what I'm going to probably do here is that she'll leave this room exploring this room. This room might have monsters in it. This room could spawn monsters, so there could be a bunch of monsters here. If that's the case, what we'll do... Yep, see, some monsters spawned here, so now he's fighting them. But she doesn't have to. That said, the reason why I did that primarily is because she's very fast. Her speed is much higher than his. Actually, her speed's like through the roof. 48? That's really high. Yeah, that's kind of why I picked her, though. Essentially, you know, if she got into any kind of trouble, I'd just have her run into his room, and that'd be fine. Which wouldn't work nearly as well the other way around. He's very slow. So it would take him a while with the speed of 18. She's more than twice as fast as him. With the speed of 18, it would take him a good long while to run to a room for safety. Alright, but we're just going to keep going here. We're going to move him up so monsters don't spawn here, and we're just going to keep exploring. I'm being overly cautious here, by the way. In your first floor is not going to be terribly difficult. There just aren't that many rooms. You tend to find, and also a big help is the fact that there's only one entrance to the crystal. Most floors you're gonna have multiple. All right, but we're just gonna keep exploring. Since your resources tick up with every door opened, in theory, like, we just found the exit. This is the exit. The goal is then for one of our heroes to pick up the crystal and run to the exit. And then both of our heroes will have to collect in the elevator, and then we'll just get, bugger off to the next floor. But, since our resources tick up with every door opened, on the first floor, second floor, and probably third floor as well, you probably want to open up every single door to gain resources for later on. So we're just going to keep on going. Keep on trucking. So she found a couple of guys. Ooh, lots of monsters. So she found a lot of stuff. So we're going to retreat to this room and just have it burn. He's got this Psycho Killer ability that gets on, that he has from the beginning that just gives him a little bit of attack power. And some speed as well, which is not bad. It's not actually a terribly good ability, because I feel like attack power and speed you're never going to really need at the same time, because if you're running, you're not shooting. So, yeah. But let's see, let's keep going here. Put him in there. So we're just going to keep going with the she explores, opens up doors, and then retreats back if monsters show up. She's very good at that, because the ability she has is run away. She's kind of meant for this. That's a big speed buff. We're just going to open that up. Yep, find a bunch of monsters, and retreat back. And then just fight them. So this is an easy way to clear the first couple of floors. You just, like I said, very reliant on heroes. The reason why I'm so reliant on heroes is because it saves resources if you don't heal them. Or rather, if you don't have to heal them. Heal your heroes most certainly if you need to, but if you don't have to heal them, you're going to be saving resources quite a bit. Alright, now this is where things could potentially get a little bit more difficult. We're going to keep opening up doors here. By the way, a good way to tell where monsters are spawning is to zoom out and then look for those exclamation marks that you just saw. Yep. Protect the dungeon. You'll notice that there's many different monster types that do different things. You kind of learn with experience what they do. You notice those little blue diamond-shaped crystal things. Those are going to pretty much ignore heroes. Anything that looks like them, they're like these big, I'm not even sure what the shape is, but like these big, elongated, floating diamond things. If you see stuff like that, they tend to go straight for your crystal. So we're just gonna keep opening up the doors. What's likely gonna happen is that there's gonna be a dead end here and a dead end here. But we'll see if that's the case. Now I'm wondering, you know what? As important as it is for me that as nice as it is to have him standing in there and not having things spawn in there, I'd much rather have him nearby in case something awful spawns in one of these rooms. Again, I'm probably being more cautious than I need to be, but I feel like, you know, get good habits early. So we're gonna go ahead and open up this door. Yep, there's some monsters in there, and it was indeed something, you know, a little bit worrisome. So more monsters have spawned up there, but I'm not too worried about it. They have to go all the way down here in order to get to my crystal, and that's where they're going to head to. There's nothing really in between for them to attack, except the except this crystal here, but we're not using it. The artifact here, I don't think we're researching anything right now, so it's not too worrying. I did kind of mess up in that I didn't reach the pepper spray. So I could have researched the pepper spray and then maybe something else, but we're still going to research the pepper spray. Oh, I stand corrected. Forgot about my little science module there. Another good strategy is notice that we fought a bunch of monsters here, moved up, fought a couple more monsters. That's because they're really spread out. Monsters don't all have the same speed. So the fact that they're coming from so far away that they're spawning in these 3 rooms and they have to go all the way down here, they're going to spread out, and that's going to allow you to fight them more effectively, which is, you know, obviously nice. So we've gotten a bunch of dust. Dust is what allows this to grow. We've got currently 80 dust, so that's good. That's nice. We're gonna have you stand in there because actually no, we're gonna have you stand in there because if there's something in here. We want Gork to be the one fighting it. Yep, indeed, just 2 dead ends, no problem. Oh, I should really have her help out here. But, no problem. Oh, looks like that one got past us, but that's no problem. This might get a hit off, yeah. Notice, I'm not sure if you saw the .07 here. That's because it did some damage to our crystal here, but it was .07. I mean, it's very little. Like, don't really like it'll give you a message saying your crystal's being attacked. Good time to panic. But that's just the game being funny again. You really don't need to. There's no reason to panic. All right, so we've explored this entire floor, which is great. What we're going to do here is we're gonna power all of this up. Gork, we're gonna put right there. So we're gonna take our fastest character. Oh, you know, this is probably a good time to quickly talk about stats as we're getting through this first room here, first floor. So when you right-click your character, there's all this information down here, and there's active skills and passive skills and some equipment slots and all kinds of stuff. What does all this mean? HP is, well, it's health. It's not that bad. HP regen is, I believe, the amount of hit points your character gains per second. I think everything is done sort of per second. Defense is, well, it's defense. It reduces damage. Speed is how fast the character is. The average for most characters when it comes to speed, and it really is just movement speed, how quickly they run around. The average for most characters is about 30. 30 is average. Below 30, you get slower characters. if it's below 20, like Gork, that's pretty abysmal. That's really slow. But if you get like above 40, like Sarah here, it's pretty fantastic. So that's sort of what you want to look for. There's attack power and attack cooldown, which are both, in my opinion, kind of who cares, because all you really care about is the damage per second. This is the number that you really want to go up. If you're picking, like, it'll tell you whether an item will increase, what an item will increase stat-wise. It'll put like little green pluses to the things it'll improve and little red minuses next to things it'll, you know, make worse. You'll look at an item, it'll be like, oh, my attack power goes up. But if your DPS goes down, who cares? It's the DPS you care about. So DPS is the important bit, which is really just the attack power multiplied by the attack cooldown. Notice since we're attacking, if this attack cooldown was 1, as in she attacks once per second, then it would be a straight correlation. It'd be 21 attack would equal 21 DPS, which since she attacks a little bit faster, I bet for Gork, yeah, it is 1. So you notice that the attack power is 42, and his damage per second is 42, because he attacks once per second, sort of. Mechanically speaking, the animations might show him attacking quicker or slower. Doesn't matter. This is what the game registers. And then the last number is wit, which wit is used, yeah, for basically manipulating modules. You'll see this later on. Characters will get the operate passive skill, and they'll sit in a room with a module and give it a bonus, which is really useful in about early mid game. When you're on like floor 3 or 4, you'll start getting some characters hopefully that have the operate skill, and then you'll make them operate modules, and it'll give you a bonus. Their wit will give you a bonus. It's not a straight correlation, like a wit of 5 does not equal an extra 5 food operating a food module. It's much less than that, but the higher the wit, the bigger the bonus. Okay. And, yeah, active abilities, you can... By the way, the active abilities show up only when you've got one character selected. If you select 2 characters, no active abilities will be selected. Passive abilities, I mean, you'll just have to... There's such a big number of them, I'm not really going to go over them. But a couple of ones of passive skills that you'll want to look out for is Operate. Operate is the one that allows them to manipulate modules to give you buffs, and you'll probably want at least one person that has that, because it can give you a lot of resources. Scamper is a good one. It'll show like a guy like this, a little stick figure, dodging a bullet. Scamper is a good one for scouts because they ignore monsters. Monsters will slow you down, unless you have the scamper ability. Alright, so enough about that. Let's quickly do level up, just in case. Yep. Oh, so you got a Soylent Green. Oh, he gets food. Per killed monster doesn't work while the crystal's being moved. Alright. Yeah, there's a good reason why for that is because while the crystal's being moved, monsters spawn endlessly. So we've leveled him up just in case. So usually what I like to do is I like to light up the path as much as possible to the exit, and I like to keep the exit clear of monsters. That's why what I could have done is, you know, could have done something like that to safeguard the first part of the passage, but no, these monsters back here are going to spawn and then come towards us, and that's just going to be awful, so I'm going to light the path up like this. Alright, so I'm going to right click on that with the hero I want to carry it. I'm going to pick the fastest hero. Note that while she is carrying the crystal, her speed will drop by half. Still faster than this guy, by the way, but her speed will drop by half while carrying it. And she will not be able to use abilities, so she can't do run away to be faster. Alright, we've picked up the crystal. I've paused the game. Space, by the way, is pause. And we're just going to have her run towards that. So, nope, nothing really. I thought he might have to fight something here, but not really. I'm going to have him move now as well, because I think she is faster.
Her speed right now is 19. His speed is 18. So yeah, she's slightly faster. The speed, I think her speed was 48 before, so yeah, it's not quite half. Alright, so that was really easy. Made it to the exit, no problem. When it's green like this, that means all heroes have made it, and it's safe to press the exit button. We're just gonna... Alright, hey, so that first floor, really easy, and I think that taught you most of the basics. I feel like I talked a lot. The one thing we haven't encountered yet is, so you notice they had like a little bit of an exchange. If you have characters that are related lore-wise, they'll have unique dialogue like they just had, because they're both part of the crew. I believe they're both part of the crew. Alright, and so we're on a new floor here. One of the things we haven't encountered yet is items. So I was kind of hoping that we could get that. So we just met a new character. that's what happens. Mormish. So we're going to recruit him, because you can only have 4 characters. But until you have 4 characters, I would highly recommend you recruit every single one that you find. Because having 3 characters is way better than having just 1 character. He also has a useful ability of war profiting. Mormish I don't find terribly useful. I don't think he's that great, because he's an armchair commander. That's almost literally what he does. He can give one of his active abilities is if he's if he's away from other heroes, he can give them a buff, which I like to fight with my heroes together. Like, you know, right now they're all traveling together. So, yeah. What I should have done, I'm not taking my own advice, what I should have done is built a food replicator. We could have had 3 whole food from opening that first door. So, yeah, we're just going to keep going. As long as we're here, let's research pepper spray. You will notice that these things, what's available here does not change from floor to floor. If you really don't want anything here, do research. But I usually like to research something, especially since once you research something, it all resets anyway. Like, if I research pepper spray here, next time, Prisoner Prod, Dustfield, and Land Module will not be here as options. So, you might as well research something then. Alright, and we keep going. Can't build a module here because this thing's taking it up. Oh, and we found I'm not really sure how to pronounce this. Stella? Stella? These things give you buffs. Sometimes debuffs. They can be good or bad. Usually they're a double-edged sword. This one happens to be all good. It's just a big movement speed buff, which is nice. So if people, like, you'll notice that they're a lot faster now. She moves kind of ridiculously fast. Up, dead end. A self-powered dead end, which is, you know, it's always useful. We're gonna put another food replicator in there because food is good. Gonna open that up. What I'm hoping to find here is, just before I end this video, is an item so I can show you a little bit about it, but just in case I don't, your backpack will fill with items. Each hero can only use certain items, like Butcher here can only use like an assault rifle. That's what this thing is. He can use armor, and he can use a utility thing. Different characters use different weapons, so they'll have different weapon slots. Like, she only uses a sword, and he uses a pistol. That's sort of your standard array. Some heroes don't use weapons at all. Other heroes use just a bunch of utility mods. I mean, you can get pretty much everything. Keep on trucking here. Moving through the dungeon very quickly. Now that are sort of... See, we could leave right now. Everything is powered. I could leave guys here, and we could just make a run for it. These doors would open, but we'd be long gone before anything dangerous comes out of that. So, oh, this door would also open. the red are doors. So we're gonna leave Mormish behind here just to make sure that nothing spawns in this room. Ah, we found a merchant. Okay, so that's good to show. You click, use one of your characters to interact with it, and the merchant will accept, depending on what kind of merchant you get, he'll accept different forms of payment. This merchant takes food. Now, I don't particularly want to spend food right now, but I'm going to spend food anyway just to show you items and inventory and how that works just real fast, because there was a confusion about that I had that I want to make sure you don't have. So first of all, when interacting with a merchant, you can buy any of these. You can be like, yeah, I want a soul taker. That's funny. An exceedingly sharp blade used to repair exceedingly large shoes. Soul taker. That's good. So we're going to click on that and click on the inventory. We've just bought it for whatever the indicated price was, 20-something food. So we'll stop talking to him. So now she has a weapon, which is nice. You can put it, in your inventory. You can click the X here and it'll put it in your inventory. Or rather, it'll put it in your backpack. Pardon me, let's not get this confused. Because the backpack, you can have 4 items in your backpack. These are items that will travel with you from floor to floor. Inventory items will be ditched once you leave the floor. So you'll only be able to take these items and what you've got equipped with you to the next floor. So if there's, like, for instance, let's say I didn't have a character that could use this blade, but I think in the future, I might get a character that uses a blade or whatever. I want to make sure that's in my backpack and not my inventory. In order to switch things between your inventory and backpack, you just click stuff on your backpack and move it in your inventory, and that'll free up a slot. If you want to move it back, you just click on it and move it back into the backpack. What I thought I could switch items. Like if I clicked on a backpack item, let me show you. I'll just literally buy another item just for the sole purpose of showing you this, because this is something that confused me. So we'll put that in our inventory. Put this, in our inventory. If you have an item in your inventory and have an item in your backpack, if you click on the backpack and click on the inventory, it does not. You can't switch them. That's like clicking on them over and over again isn't going to do anything. You have to click on an empty space in order for it to switch. That's something I didn't know. I don't know why I couldn't figure it out. I actually looked it up. I felt really dumb, but it essentially happened when my backpack was full and my inventory was filling up. So I thought like, why can't I switch these items? How do I switch it? You have to click on an empty space. Okay. Actually, I think that about covers it. I'm really glad I went through a little bit of this floor so I could show you a lot of the different random things you can encounter. There's other things you can encounter as well, but most of them are pretty straightforward. They're mostly things that'll give you resources, other heroes, resources, and again, this guy, the merchant, can use various forms of payment. Make sure you realize what he's trading in. Oh, you can sell him. I didn't know you could sell items to the merchant. That's really useful. I feel dumb. I feel dumb now. I never looked at the merchant that much. You can sell items, so it's good to know. Of course, it's at a reduced price, but it's good to know. Make sure you realize, though, what the merchant is trading in, because he's trading in food. He can trade in dust, science, industry, or food. So make sure that whatever he's trading in, you can actually afford. And that about covers it. I mean, that's Dungeon of the Endless right there. I mean, I'll quickly, if you want to build modules, I feel like that's pretty straightforward. But you click on the module you want to build, and then click on where you want to build it, and it'll build it for you. It builds it almost instantly when there are no monsters, when there's no danger. If there's no danger, things tend to go pretty quick, like repairing, building, and all that. If there are monsters, things will go much slower. I've showed you major modules. I don't think I have anybody that has the operate skill. So I can't really show you how that works. But operate, basically, if you see a cog next to one of your heroes, one of the portraits, if you see it like in the top right corner of their portrait, that means that they're trying to operate something. If it's grayed out, that means they need to wait a turn before their operate will have effect. Your hero needs to be in a room for an entire turn and then not leave in order for their wit bonus to give you a benefit. So do watch out for that. I think the game actually tells you about that, so it's one of the few things it told you. But yeah, that about covers it. I really like this game. It's actually really simple once you sort of realize a lot of these things. It's pretty easy to get into. Just, a couple of pieces of advice is like, play on too easy mode. It's not too easy, it's normal. The first couple of floors of the dungeon, make sure that you're building resources. The last couple of floors, you might not bother building resources. Instead, just try to stockpile stuff for the last couple of floors so you can get through there more easily. First couple of floors, explore as many rooms as you can without, to try to build resources. Then once you get to about floor 5, 6, then take it as an as-needed basis. And then for the last couple of floors, hightail it as soon as you can. But that's just advice and strategy. Different situations obviously call for different strategies, and different players are going to use different strategies. So, in any case, that's my tutorial for Dungeon of the Endless. I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you guys next time.